ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. Namaskar to all of you. Welcome to the study of Great Master Sri Ramakrishna. We are now first going to take up the life of Mathurnath, and then we will come back to the life of Sri Ramakrishna. Sadhana, the spiritual aspirants part of Sri Ramakrishna's will be studied. Yesterday, in the life of Mathurnath Babu, we saw how great a renunciation the mother of Sri Ramakrishna, Kshudira, Mother Chandramani Devi, she too had it. So She would not demand, she would not ask, even in spite of Mathurnath Babu asking her again and again to take something from him. She would not demand anything. She was satisfied, contented. So now in Vedanta, in yoga, Yama, Niyama, and other steps in the Ashtanga Yoga, and also in Vedanta, we get a thing called Santosha. So that Santosha means this contentment, Samyak Toshaha. So you can see that Mother Chandramani Devi is always contented. She is immersed in the higher thought that she doesn't want anything. So this particular nature is called contentment, Santosha. So whatever the Lord has provided us, we should be happy with, we should be grateful to the Lord and be happy with. So too much of desires disturbs us and it will take away our mind from God. So this nature of being contented with whatever the Lord has provided and being grateful and thankful to the Lord always, that particular nature is called Santosha. So now you can see that nature, because until unless somebody practices the nature, the good character, we may mention that there is a nature called Santosha, there is a thing called Yama, Niyama, in that there is Aparigraha, Asteya, there is this truthfulness, Satya, Brahmacharya. But until we find a person who is practicing it, it is just a figure of speech. We cannot understand what it is. So here you can see by the life and the nature of Chandramani Devi, we can understand this great quality of Vedanta or yoga, Santosha, contented, ever contented. Now we'll go and see what is happening in the life of Mathuranath. About this time, about the same time, an incident happened in Mathur's family, which greatly strengthened Mathur's faith in Master. Now, I think by this incident, our faith in Master also will increase. Now, we all know that Mathurnath was married to the daughter of Rani Rasamani. The first daughter died, and now Rani Rasamani knew this great Mathurnath Babu was a very good man. She didn't want to lose this person. He was very active, he was very upright, he had a very good nature, and he could do a lot of work. He was the one who was maintaining the whole estate and all the kingdom of Rani. Now, if you lose him, then that would be a great loss to the family of Rani Rasmani. So she married the youngest daughter, Jagadamba, to Mathurnath and allowed him to look after all the affairs of the temple, her estate, and everything. Now, after Rani Rasmani's passing away, a very great calamity fell on Mathur's family. And what was that? Let us see how Ramakrishna saved Mathur at that time. So his second wife, Jagadamba Dasi, contracted severe dysentery. So in the motion, we know about loose motion, but due to some bacteria or particular, you call this amoebiosis, so many various other microorganism, it causes bleeding in the intestine. So there will be constant flow of blood in the motion. So that particular disease is called dysentery. So now in those days, the diagnosis and the medicine was not so good. So people would die out of this disease. You know that Rani Rasmani also passed away with this same disease. Now, his second wife, Jagadamba, contracted severe dysentery. The doctors tried their utmost to cure her, but finally declared the case to be beyond treatment. Mathur was panic-stricken. He knew that if his wife died, he would lose control over Rani Rasmani's estate. Desperately, he rushed to Sri Ramakrishna, his last refuge, and wept, saying, now he tried his level best, he put in all the human effort. And finally, when nothing succeeded, the last refuge, Sri Ramakrishna, he rushed. You should note in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna tells that there are 4 kinds of devotees. I respect all the 4 kinds of devotees. They are all my devotees. Krishna himself claims they are all my devotees. Chaturvidha bhajante mam. Chaturvidha. 4 types of devotees are there. My devotees are of 4 types. Chaturvidha. Chatur means 4. Just like day before yesterday we celebrated Ganesha Chaturthi. Chaturthi means 4th day of the bright lunar fortnight. So Chaturthi, Chaturvidha. Chatur means 4. Vidha means type. Chaturvidha bhajante mam. They worship me. 4 types of devotees are there. They are all my devotees. Who are they? Arthi, Artharthi, Jignasu, Gnani, Cha Bharatarshava. The 4 types are Arthi, Artharthi, Jignasu, Gnani. So Arti, the devotee called Arti, not Arati that we do, Arti. So Arti means one who approaches God when he is in a difficult and dire situation. That devotee who goes to God, who prays to God at the time of difficulty, at the time of problems. So that person is called Arthi. He's in difficulty now. He's faced by coronavirus. His kith and kin are now troubled by some disease or something. So at that time, so they go to pray to God. All the other time they don't. They are happy. But only when they are in trouble, they rush to God. Those kind of devotees are called Arthi. So don't get confused for Arati, because here in South Africa they pronounce Arati as also Arti. It is not Arti, it is Arati. The term for doing the, showing the light to the Lord, waving of the light in front of the Lord is called Arati or Nirajana. The exact Sanskrit word is called Nirajana. Arati is also another word. So here they cut short it telling Arti. So Arthi. So here that is the Alpa Prana. Here it is Mahaprana, Arthi. So one who is in difficulty, when he approaches the Lord, the devotee is called Arthi. So example in Purana, in Bhagavatam, Gajendra Moksha. That elephant was a king of all elephants, was very happy in the forest with lot of other elephants. Now when he was swimming in a lake or a pond or a river, the big, very strong crocodile caught its leg and it couldn't escape. It tried and tried and tried, trumpeted. And finally, that elephant was a great devotee of Lord Vishnu. Then because now he couldn't escape himself from the clutches of the crocodile, he started shouting to Narayana, "Oh Narayana, come and save me." Then immediately, when the great devotee elephant cried for help, Vishnu came on the Garuda Vahana, and he sent his Ayuda, the arm, that is the Sudarshana Chakra, and cut the crocodile and killed the crocodile and saved Gajendra, king of the elephant. So that devotion of that Gajendra is termed as Arthi whenever it's in difficulty. Like that, most of us devotees, we pray to God only when we are in difficult situation. Otherwise, we forget, we happily in our own thoughts. So next kind of devotee, as Krishna is telling, is Artharthi. What is Artharthi? I want that, I want this, I want riches, we want children, we want buildings, we want vehicles, we want our ornaments, we want power, we want more salary, we want that, we want this. So that desire, we have so many desire, we have so many wants. So we go to God to fulfill that. We request God, oh Lord, please give me this, give me that. So that kind of devotees who approach God, whatever they want, they go and approach God and they pray to God. They are called Artharthis. They want Artha, that is wealth or whatever they want, they go to God. So whenever they have want, they go to God, they pray to God. So now, whenever somebody is in trouble only, they go to God, they take refuge in God, they are called Arthi. Whenever they have so many wants, so we want to fulfill all our wants, so we approach God to fulfill our wants, then that kind of devotee is called Artharthi. Then the third kind of devotee Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita is Jignasu. What is Jignasa? Gnatum Ichcha Jignasa. Moksha, if you want, then is called Mumukshu. So if somebody wants moksha, liberation, is called Mumukshu. If somebody wants knowledge, if somebody wants to know God, he wants to reach God, he wants to know God, he wants to get more devotion to God. Many people will be asking the question, how to increase devotion to God? By knowing more about God, by having more and more knowledge of God, your devotion to God increases. So that's why Ramakrishna will be always telling, what is that? Guna Kirtana, Nama Guna Kirtana. Just if you take the name of the Lord and do the bhajans, it's not enough. So it should be combined with Guna also. Nama Guna Kirtana. So just singing bhajans will not do. We should know the meaning with that corresponding. Okay, in the first place, when you are happy with singing the bhajans and the music and the tone, you get attracted towards God, that's good. But don't stop there. You have to know the meaning of the song. Then that meaning hides so many great qualities of the Lord. The play, the Leela of the Lord. Then you will be remembering that and you will be meditating. So that will help you to meditate on the Lord. Those qualities will go deep into your mind and that will help to cleanse all your subconscious mind. That's why Guna, knowledge of God, Guna, character, nature of God, quality of God should be known. So one who wants to know more about God, Gnatum, Gnana means knowledge, Gnatum means to know. Ichcha, one who desires intensely to know God. There, the first place, the desire to overcome difficulties, one who approaches God is called Arthi. One Artha Bhakti. One, if we want so many desires, wants, to remove all those wants or to fulfill all those wants, he approaches God, is called Artharthi. Third devotee is Gnatum Ichcha. He wants to know more about God. He wants to have more devotion to God. So it's called Jignasu. When he gets more knowledge, Gnatum Ichcha, Jignasa, he will get more devotion. So Gnatum Ichcha, Jignasu. Krishna tells he is the third type of devotee. And the fourth and the highest is Gnani. Gnani means he has already realized God. He knows everything about God. He has so much knowledge about God. Almost he has realized his Atman. But yet, after realization of his own Atman, yet a person has devotion to God. He doesn't have any difficulty, he doesn't have any desires to fulfill. He has known everything about God. So it is not a necessity after that to have devotion. because you are immersed in your own self, because you have got the source of all joy, you have realized the source of all existence, knowledge. Then what is the need? But in spite of that, that great knowledgeable person who has realized God, Gnani, he will have still devotion to God. So he's called Gnani. That devotee is the highest amongst the devotees. So he doesn't want anything from God. He doesn't ask anything from God. So he he has got everything, the highest knowledge, highest joy, everything. But still he aspires to serve God. He wants to serve God. So even if you approach God at the time of difficulty, God is happy with you. He likes you. He tells, Krishna is telling, he's also my devotee. I will ye yathamam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajamyaham. However, whichever way the jiva or the devotee approaches me, I will fulfill their wants in that way only. So nothing that you should come this way, you should be this way. Everybody is my devotee. So even if you approach God for the sake of something your wants, God will fulfill that desire too. Ramakrishna has promised, Holy Mother used to tell, you know that India there is a practice, suppose they have some difficulty or they have some wants, then what they do is they will make a promise or a vow. I don't know what is the particular term in English. In Indian term in Hindi, it's called Manat. And in South India, it is called as different terms will be there. Everywhere in Bengali, the language, it will be a different term. If you go to Orissa, the same thing will be called something. You come to Tamil Nadu, the name will be different. In Karnataka, it will be different. In Andhra Pradesh, it will be different. In Kerala. So the names goes on varying, but the practice is there. What is that? You'll vow to God, I will do so much of japa, I will do so much of what do you call taking bath, getting up early in the morning, I'll give up food, I will do fasting, and I will feed so many people. I will go to the orphanage and give so much money to the orphanage. I'll come to your temple and give you a golden necklace, a crown, or I will do something for your temple. So I will do some service to the temple. So if you take away my problem, or if you fulfill my wants, desires, then I will do these things. This is called vow. I will bring so much of sweets. I will bring some rasgulla. I will give some jalebi to you, offer some food, sweet halwa to you, soji to you. I will come and do that if you fulfill my desire, if you take away my disease. So that is called mannat, or it is what do you call vow, keeping a vow. So Sharda Devi tells that you can approach Ramakrishna even in that way. You can make vows to Ramakrishna and he will fulfill it. Sharda Devi has promised that. So now, here, though our Mathurnath Vishwas had all other type of qualities too, now he has got difficulty. Now he's approaching Ramakrishna as a Artha Bhakti. I'm in difficulty, O Lord, protect me. So now how Ramakrishna will protect him, we can have a look at it. Mathur was panic stricken. He knew that if his wife died, he would lose control over Rani Rasmani's estate. Desperately, he rushed to Sri Ramakrishna, his last refuge, and wept. He wept, now he is like a king. So when you are in difficulty, when you get problem, whether you are a king or you are the topmost person, you are the president of USA, you are the general secretary of the UNESCO, the WHO, doesn't count. So when you are in trouble, you have to rush to God, only refuge. So even a person like a king here, Mathurnath, is in trouble. So he rushed and wept. He wept. That's very, very important. You see, that weeping in front of the Lord, we weep in front of human beings and it doesn't melt their heart. But if you weep in front of the Lord, if you shed tears for the Lord, his heart will melt immediately and he will come and help you. So weeping is a very strong ayudha, arm, weapon. So it's a very strong weapon if you weep for God. God will immediately respond. So now he wept, Mathura Babu, he wept in front of Sri Ramakrishna and saying, Father, Baba, not only am I threatened with a terrible personal loss, not only that his wife is going to die now, not only I am threatened with a personal loss, but if the management of the estate passes away into others' hand, I shall be unable to continue my services to you. Once I lose my control over this estate of the temple and all the other management of Rani Rasmani, because now my wife has died, then I lose control over all the property in the kingdom, then I cannot serve you. That is also troubling me. One thing, that will be a personal loss if his wife dies. And at the same time, Mathur was worried, telling that, oh Father, Baba, not only am I threatened with a terrible personal loss, but if the management of the estate passes into other hands, I shall be unable to continue my services to you. Seeing Mathur's agony, Sri Ramakrishna's mind was filled with compassion. So seeing Mathur's agony, Ramakrishna's mind was filled with compassion. So it is to be noted, whatever you have problems, approach Sri Ramakrishna or Holy Mother. They are always so compassionate. That is the reason why they have come. They come again and again. So now when you approach them and cry your heart to them, they will fulfill your desires. They will remove all your troubles. So you can see the example here. Father, not only am I threatened with a terrible personal loss, but if the management of the estate passes into other hands, I shall be unable to continue my services to you. Seeing Mathu's agony, Sri Ramakrishna's mind was filled with compassion. He said in an ecstatic mode, he went to ecstasy, and then in an ecstatic mood. So when he is in ecstasy, and in that mood, if he speaks, it is not the bhakta, the devotee Ramakrishna speaking, but it is Lord Narayana himself, Gadadhara Vishnu himself speaking. So in that ecstatic mood, Ramakrishna promised, don't be afraid, your wife will recover. Ramakrishna gave that assurance, abhaya. That's why you can see gods and goddesses in the temple. You can see one hand will be like this. This is Varamudra. I will give you whatever you want. This is Vara. And if the hands are like this, it is abhaya. Don't be afraid. I am there to protect you. I will protect you. See now, Ramakrishna as a devotee, he had lost his complete I, ego. He would not tell I. But when he went into that ecstatic mode, because it was the Lord who was speaking. So Gadadhara Vishnu is promising, don't be afraid. Means, I'm here to protect you, don't be afraid. Your wife will recover. These words greatly reassured Mathur. He returned home and found that Jagadamba's illness had taken a dramatic turn for the better. The moment Ramakrishna uttered those words, don't be afraid, your wife will recover. These words greatly reassured Mathur. He returned home and found that Jagadamba's illness had taken a dramatic turn for the better. Dramatic turn for the better. Referring to this incident, about this Sri Ramakrishna himself used to speak. So referring to this incident, Sri Ramakrishna used to tell, from that day, Jagadamba slowly started to recover and the disease was transferred to this body, meaning himself. As a result of this cure, I suffered for 6 months from dysentery. So Ramakrishna had to suffer that karma, that prarabdha karma of Jagadamba Dasi and Mathurnath Vishwas, taking upon himself. I suffered for 6 months from dysentery and other complaints. So as mentioned before, Mathur had tested Sri Ramakrishna in many ways before he surrendered himself to him and sought his guidance. So now, before going to the next incidents, let us talk about what is this, the disease getting transferred. So now, the Lord has so much of power. He can neutralize all those things. You know that Holy Mother saw when she went to Kashi. When because there in Kashi you can go and touch the Shivalinga, the linga of the Lord, the emblem of the Lord, Shiva Linga. There in Kashi you can go and touch. Some of the temples you can do that. So now she could see, she had the vision when she went there that Shiva is sitting there and receiving. When they touch the Jiva, the people receive, they touch the Shiva Linga or the head of the Lord Shiva. So Shiva was absorbing their sins. He was taking the sins of those people sitting there. Saw that. So that is what, when we approach deity, any deity, and pray to them, what they do is they take away sin, our sins on themselves, and they relieve us of our sins. That is what they do. Even the great people, the guru or anybody, they do that. So Ramakrishna here, you can see, Divine Mother had a different plan. At that time, he was practicing this. When this happened, Ramakrishna was in practicing the highest Advaitic mode. So he was in that state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi for 6 months. So it is told that if you stay in Nirvikalpa Samadhi for 21 days, just 21 days, because it is just merging in the Lord. The Lord is so joyful. Ordinary people, they don't want to come back because they have given the highest. We have this instrument called body, our Sukshma Sharira and all other things, just to realize God. Once that highest want is over, when you get the highest fulfilled, then why do you want to keep that instrument? You'll throw it away because it is of no use after that. You don't need it. So after 21 days of enjoying that Nirvikalpa Samadhi, they throw away the body. So they can't. They will merge in Parabrahma Swarupa. It's so joyful. You cannot imagine the joy you get when you merge in Paramatma Swarupa, in Parabrahman. The joy is in what you call, you cannot count it or you cannot measure it. It's infinite. So when you have that infinite joy, how can you withstand that? You just rush and get merged. Then when you merge in Paramatma Swarupa, then the body will wither away. The body doesn't have any work, it will wither away. But Sri Ramakrishna had to come back to do a lot of work here. The Divine Mother wanted to do a lot of work, Loka Kalyana, from that body of Ramakrishna, pure body of Sri Ramakrishna. So now he has got that Nirvikalpa Samadhi to Totapuri's help, the Guru Totapuri. So he's immersed in that for 6 months, 21 days, the body goes away. Ramakrishna has done 12 years of sadhana, 6 years he doesn't have sleep. And now he is merged in that Nirvikalpa Samadhi for 6 months. Now the body will go and merge. So Mother Kali doesn't want that he should merge because he's come down to save us all. So he has to come back again. So what did Mother Kali do? The plan was, by disease on the body of person of Sri Ramakrishna, that pain, the disease and everything. So the body consciousness, that now his I consciousness individuality had merged in Parabrahma. Now due to that pain of the body, dysentery and other things, the disease was transferred to him, and gradually that pain, the disease made Ramakrishna to get back his body consciousness. So that's why he came back when his body was saved, and we could get so much thing after that. So that is the reason the Lord or the Divine Mother had planned in such a way that the disease, because Ramakrishna had so much of power, he could just ward it off, remove that. But why did Divine Mother put that? Or why did Ramakrishna take it upon himself? You know, Ramakrishna, when he would be while going into Samadhi, he used to have some small desires. I will drink water, I will eat jalebi, I will do that, I will go there. So his mind would simply rush towards Parabrahma Swarupa even at the smallest instance. So it would be difficult to bring it back from that high state of mind. So when Ramakrishna used to go, have some desire, and then go, that desire would pull him down for this local kalyan. So while going to that samadhi desires, like I will eat jalebi, I will drink water, I will do that, I will go to that place. So the desire will bring his mind down from that higher state. Now he's immersed in this thing for 6 months after that Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So to bring down, not ordinary desire would do. So he had to transfer that lot of pain and lot of that disease, blood dysentery on his own body to pull down his mind from the Nirvikalpa Samadhi and stay here and do the work. That's why Ramakrishna is telling, as a result of that cure for Jagadamba, from that day, Jagadamba slowly started to recover and the disease was transferred to this body, meaning himself. As a result of this cure, I suffered for 6 months from dysentery and other complaints. So, putting that dysentery and the pain of the stomach, the mind of Ramakrishna was dragged down to the normal. He could identify with that body with great difficulty. And then Leela. So Mathur also tested Sri Ramakrishna in many ways before complete to him. So as mentioned before, in many ways before his surrender. Now this incident also the saving. Sri Ramakrishna is the savior who saved the life of his wife. He saved so many people from trouble. From so only Ramakrishna would not mention them. So Mathura tested him, and this incident, so as mentioned before, Mathura tested Sri Ramakrishna in many ways. Before far above lust, Mathur treated Sri Ramakrishna like a god, offering the utmost honor. This did not in the least affect Sri Ramakrishna's ego. So highest respect was given. Treated him like God. So that would roll off our head and make egoistic. Even smallest respect we get from other people, 10 people start respecting us, we become egoistic. Our head starts reeling. We get ego at that time. But whatever Ramakrishna would get, it would not trouble any name and any amount of name and fame, any lust, any greed, nothing would trouble him. So he got the utmost honor from so many people. As Avatar Purusha himself, this did not in the least affect Sri Ramakrishna, who was free from ego completely, as he had obliterated the ego, perfect self-abnegation, the goal of spiritual life. Observing the master's superhuman nature, Mathur one day declared, Hriday, my wife, children, wealth, position, and everything are unreal. Sri Ramakrishna alone is real. After so much of testing, Mathur Babu was highly educated in the Western standard in English education. He was very rich. He had so much of property. He could do anything. So after that, he had tested Sri Ramakrishna. And not only that, he could overcome so many problems by the help of Sri Ramakrishna. After all these things, he saw that Ramakrishna was above lust, above greed, above the ego, name and fame problem. So after that, his faith redoubled, his faith increased 1,000 folds. So Mathur treated Sri Ramakrishna like a god, offering him the utmost honor, observing the master's superhuman nature. Observing Sri Ramakrishna's superhuman nature, Mathur one day declared, the declaration is very, very important. We have to etch it in our heart. He's telling to Hriday, Hriday, my wife, my children, my wealth, my position, and everything are unreal. Sri Ramakrishna alone is real. All that thing, whatever I have in my life. So how much conviction he had got in the power of Sri Ramakrishna, you can understand. Because he has seen with his own eyes the all saving, the great saving power of Sri Ramakrishna. And he had seen the superhuman nature of Sri Ramakrishna. After that, after much testing, he declared, they, my wife, children, wealth, position, and everything are unreal. Sri Ramakrishna alone is real. Sri Ramakrishna alone is real. So, after studying Mathur's life, which was full of Sri Ramakrishna, so all that incidences which made Mathur to feel that Ramakrishna alone is real, all else is unreal, all else is unreal. So now we'll come to the spiritual life, especially the aspirant's life, spiritual aspirant's life of Sri Ramakrishna. We were dealing with that. So now, after doing all those sadhana, Sri Ramakrishna started getting many miraculous powers. So we saw he could understand the language of the animals or any creatures. After he got that sound of anahata, the anahata dhvani, the omkara, he could hear, the yogis hear that yogi, anahata dhvani, everywhere resounding, everywhere in the universe, that om will be is being constantly sounding. So that energy, that anahata dhvani, the great pranava sound, he could hear, which is the aggregate of all different sounds of the universe. Some of us heard from the master himself that he could at that time understand the meaning of the cries of all the animals. Now, after this, during that period, the master saw the Divine Mother herself. So now, after making spiritual progress in this way, when he was doing after this tantric sadhana, Sri Ramakrishna, during that period, saw the Divine Mother herself dwelling in all the female forms. Through the Ganesha story, Divine Mother had told Ganesha that I reside in all the female forms. Whatever you do, bad, hurt, cruelty, to all the female forms that reaches me, the highest Divine Mother. Whatever you do, all the male forms that reaches to Lord Shiva, because in all the male forms Shiva exists. So now Sri Ramakrishna is having the complete knowledge, or he could see Divine Mother manifesting in all the female forms. So whatever, on the contrary, whatever you do positive, good things, service, kindness, sympathy, service to all the female beings, that reaches Divine Mother. Whatever you do, kindness, goodness, service, everything good that you do to all the male forms, it reaches Lord Shiva. So during that period, the master saw the Divine Mother herself dwelling in the female form, in all the female form. In the latter part of this period, the master felt in himself the presence of the miraculous powers, like the one of becoming as small as an atom. So there are 8 powers Anima, Lagima, Garima. So like that, there are 8 different powers which a yogi or a sadhaka gets. So Ramakrishna started getting all those things. Not that he never had it, he was all powerful, but he could feel after doing sadhana, these miraculous powers will start coming. Anima. Anima means you can become lighter than an atom. You will not have any mass at all. So you should know what is the difference between mass and gravity. You will have the mass, but now because of gravity, so the pull of that G, the gravity, the acceleration with which that pulls down 9.8 meters per second square or something, the G may be. If I'm right, okay. If I'm wrong, you can correct me. It's called G. If you know the more of physics, because I studied some 30 years or not even 30, this 35 years back, I have studied all those things, 40 years. So G, the value of G. So that combined together makes it the mass as weight. So without the gravity, it is mass. So now, with this power, miraculous power, he could become even lighter than atom. That is called anima. Garima means he can become more heavier than the heaviest object, Garima. Then he can assume the biggest form, like Hanuman could grow. Hanuman had those 8 Ashtasiddhi. That's why in Hanuman Chalisa you can see Ashtasiddhi Nidike Data. So he had all these Ashtasiddhis, the 8 miraculous powers. That's why Hanuman Ashtasiddhi Nidike Data, you hear in the Hanuman Chalisa. Ashtasiddhi was there in Hanuman. So he could become heavier than the heaviest. That's why Bhima couldn't even lift the tail of Hanuman. Not even the tail of Hanuman could be lifted. So he could become that heavier than that. And he could become smaller than the monkey, even smaller, and just go wherever he could go, lighter. So this Anima, Garima, Laghima. So he could become the smaller, he could assume the smaller than the weight of the atom. All the Ashtasiddhi now started coming and manifesting in Sri Ramakrishna at that time. So one day, Master felt in himself the presence of miraculous powers like that, one of becoming as small as an atom. One day he went at the instance of Hriday to the Universal Mother to know the propriety and utility of applying them. Now when he started getting all this miraculous power, most of us will want to have all these powers. Yeah, I will get it and see, use it, how nice it will be. So Ramakrishna, like a child, now he is getting all those powers. He can use it anywhere. So much of power. He can do anything. He can go anywhere. Whichever world you want, he can go. He can travel to heaven. He can travel to Vaikuntha. He can go here and there. To which part of the universe you want, he can go. All that miraculous powers were with him now. So now, though he has all that miraculous power, the highest powers, he went to Divine Mother, Universal Mother, Kali, and asked, Mother, what shall I do with these powers? I have these powers. What is the use of them? Should I put it to use? What will be the use of them? Why did you give it to me? Why did I get all those things? So he went, approached Divine Mother, Kali, and asked her, what is the use of that? One day, Sri Ramakrishna, after getting all those miraculous powers, at the instance of Hriday, he went to the Universal Mother to know the propriety and utility of applying them. Utility of them and the propriety, whether it is necessary or not, why should I keep it or not, utility of applying them, and gave and saw that. Then Divine Mother told him. What did Divine Mother tell? Through Ramakrishna, Divine Mother is also instructing us. What is that? Divine Mother told Sri Ramakrishna that all these miraculous power were to be shunned and discarded. Like what? So Divine Mother showed a vision and also told Ramakrishna that all these miraculous powers should be shunned and discarded. Like what? Like excreta. So all these miraculous powers are detrimental to spiritual progress. It will pull you down to the world and tumble you from the higher state of spiritual life. That's why they are very detrimental to spiritual progress. Ramakrishna is high above all those things. He is the avatar Purusha. Nothing will happen to him. But through Ramakrishna, because Ramakrishna is not leading his life for himself, it is for us to learn. So through Ramakrishna, Divine Mother is telling these miraculous powers are to be shunned and discarded like excreta. So you was shown also a vision. What shall I do with this thing, Mother? What are these miraculous powers? Then he showed the vision of a prostitute sitting there, covering all her body with excreta. So then Divine Mother showed that prostitute covering all her body with that excreta, and showing Divine Mother told the miraculous power should be shunned like this. Like that prostitute covered whole from body to head with excreta, you have to shun those things. They are like that. So that's why now Ramakrishna is telling what Divine Mother told him. So Master said, the Divine Mother told to Ramakrishna, the Universal Mother, when asked about the propriety and utility of applying them, Divine Mother told they were to be shunned and discarded like excreta. The Master said that since then, after that, it appeared loathsome to him to hear the term miraculous power. After Divine Mother, he had so much faith in the words of Divine Mother. After Divine Mother showing him that vision, that it should be shunned and discarded like the excreta, then Ramakrishna is telling, after that, even if I hear the word called miraculous power, then it appeared loathsome to me to even hear the term miraculous power. After Divine Mother showed me it is very bad, it is detrimental, it will take your mind away from God. Whatever would be an obstacle, Ramakrishna would simply discard it. You know that when Mathur Babu wanted to register in his name a big estate so that in future, in his old age, he can maintain that. So Ramakrishna got so angry. He went to hit Mathur, telling that what you are drawing down me to the worldly plane. You're taking away my mind from God. Those things will take our mind away from God. He would not like it. So now here, this great obstacle, so all that powers will start appearing to you, because now you are so much interested going to reach God. The Divine Mother doesn't want that this world will stop. If everybody start realizing God, then this whole world will be bereft of anybody. Then the Leela, the plane will not go. It is just like the grandmother will make all the grandchildren. The grandmother will have so many grandchildren. All of them will come to the grandmother's place and they will start playing with grandmother. So that hide and seek game will be played. So anybody going here and there hiding, then finally if somebody comes and touches the grandma, then the game ends. So the grandmother doesn't want in that play of hide and seek that everybody should come and touch her. So she will hide herself. She will not allow that everybody should come and touch her. Otherwise the game will not go. The game will stop. So she wants to play with the grandchildren. So the great grandmother or the mother of this universe doesn't want this creation should stop. So she will give us all these miraculous powers. She will tempt all of us with so many other different powers like richness and all the different varieties of powers and make us play with these toys. Whenever we discard all those things, we throw away, we don't want anything of these toys of the world, then we cry for mother and mother alone, then she will come and lift us up. Then the game ends. Then the game of the kite will end. The flying of the kite will end. So the game hide and seek will end. Mother will show off to everybody. But then she wants that this game should continue. If everybody gets liberated, then there will be no creation at all. So that's why she will hide herself. She will tempt with so many toys like this miraculous powers and other things she will give and go enjoy. We forget the Divine Mother, we forget God, and we are immersed in that, in this worldly affairs. Oh, beautiful vehicles, oh, beautiful ornaments, oh, beautiful building, oh, so beautiful things I have. Enjoy. Forget God, the highest. So all these temptations will come and make you forget. So that you will not go and worry God that the whole creation will stop. Otherwise, if you get liberation, in spite of all the temptation, you shake off everything and go. God, you will get the highest. Otherwise, the small tidbits, class bits you enjoy and stay here, the toys with the toys. So that's why the miraculous power comes. So Mother showed that these are all to be discarded and shunned. If you want, that's why you should note the word. If you want realization of God, it is to be discarded. If you don't want realization of God, enjoy these things, be happy. Just like Holy Mother's last teaching is, if you want peace of mind, don't find fault with others. If you don't want peace of mind, go on doing that. They will ask, when we tell this teaching of Holy Mother, many people will be asking us, how can we maintain Maharaj? We have to find fault if you live in the world. So then I tell them, see, there is a condition Mother has put there. If you want peace of mind. If you don't want peace of mind, please find fault with others. Go on doing that. Then lose your peace of mind. But the question is, Mother is telling, if you want peace of mind. If you don't want peace of mind, go on finding fault. Enjoy. So like, if you want God realization, you have to give up all these powers. Miraculous powers. Has to be shunned, discarded. Divine Mother herself is telling. After that, words of Divine Mother, Ramakrishna, then after that even couldn't hear the words miraculous powers. If he heard, he would feel loathsome. The Master said that since then it appeared loathsome to him to hear the term miraculous powers. We are reminded of one thing, that Master's possession of 8 miraculous power. So after that much time, he had got that miraculous power long back in the time of his sadhana itself. Later on, after many years, because those miraculous powers are there, just like any other things. So one day, he called Swami Vivekananda privately. It was the end, maybe in 1886 or 1885 or 1884, when Swami Vivekananda started coming to Sri Ramakrishna. One day he called Swami Vivekananda privately to the Panchavati and said, Naren, look here. I have got all that well-known 8 miraculous powers with me, Ashtasiddhi. I have all that 8 powers I have in my hand, like this, I can play with it. And I can give it to anybody who wants. I have that power. Not only I have a lot of those powers, I can also give it to people who want it. So one day he called Swami Vivekananda privately, when nobody was there, to Panchavati, the place of sadhana, and told Naren, look here, I have got the well-known 8 miraculous powers, Ashtasiddhi, but I decided long ago that I will never make use of them for my personal use, for my selfish gains. For my personal use, I will never make use of them. Only if it is necessary to help others in spiritual life or some other things, I can do it. But I have decided long ago that I will never make use of them, nor do I see any need for applying them. You, Naren, future Vivekananda, you will have to do so many things in the world. What is that? You have to do Divine Mother's work. Lot of work you have to do of God. You, Naren, you have to do a lot of work of God. You will have to do so many things like preaching religion, going to different countries. Ramakrishna has prophesied then itself, writing, drawing a ship's picture and so many other buildings, that he will be going to a foreign country and he will be preaching religion. He will be showing our Hindu greatness of Hindu religion, Vedanta and everything. Ramakrishna has prophesied long back about Vivekananda. Narendra would not believe it. You tell, don't speak of all those things. I'm just an ordinary boy of Calcutta. How can I do all those things? No, I know everything. You will be doing everything. So now again, you see Ramakrishna is prophesying, telling that you will have to do so many things like preaching religion. I have made up my mind to give all these 8 miraculous powers. I have made up my mind to give them to you. Here they are. You could transfer at will. Here they are. I'm not using it. It's just lying there. Like dust, it is lying there in the dustbin. I'm not using it at all. So you have to do a lot of work in future, the Divine Mother's work or the Lord's work, to go to different countries and do all those works, preaching of religion. You will need that. So I want to transfer all those things, those powers to you. I have made up my mind, Ramakrishna is telling, to give them to you. Here they are. Ramakrishna showed, here they are, all the 8 miraculous power, Ashtasiddhi, here they are. I want to, decided to give it to you. Come on, take it. We would have been opening our jaws. We would have opened our tongue, salivating, rushing. Oh, give, give, give. That would be our condition. Please give it to me. But Narendra, Swami Vivekananda was not an ordinary person. He was not tempted by those things. Then here they are. Come on, take it. I've decided to give it to you. Then the Swami Narendra or Swami Vivekananda said to Ramakrishna in reply, Sir, Mahashai, will this help me in any way in realizing God? Will all these miraculous powers which you want to give it to me, will they help me in realizing God? The master replied that they would not. They cannot help you in realizing God. But that in such works as preaching religion, you have to do so much of work of God, it will be needed. They could prove useful for you to preach God. Going to different countries and preaching the religion, it will be needed for you. The Swami Vivekananda thereupon refused to accept them. The highest powers, Ashtasiddhi, which gods will be, even the demigods and the other different gods like Indra, Chandra will be waiting to have it. They will be aspiring for that. But you can see what is the stature, what is the greatness of Swami Vivekananda. He refused it. Will it help to me? Will it help me to realize God? No, it will not help you. But you will need it for doing the work of the Lord. So Vivekananda refused it. The master replied that they would not help him in God realization, but that in such work as preaching religion, they would be very useful, prove useful. The Swami thereupon refused to accept them, to the immense joy of master. It was a test. Ramakrishna was very happy because Narendra won the test. So the Swami thereupon refused to accept them, to the immense joy of master. Then there arose in the master's mind during this period a desire to see the deluding power of the mother of the universe. You know, the Mahamaya, Moha, is deluding this whole world by her power. The deluding power of Maya. Mahamaya, Moha. Everything is deluded. How? There is a statement in Annapurna Stotra, Shankaracharya has written, Mokshadvara Kapata Patana Kari. The Divine Mother, Annapurneshwari, she is called Mokshadvara, the door to liberation. Mokshadvara Kapata, the latch and the lock and key. Lock and key. Kapata Patana Kari, she has that lock and key. She is the one who can open it. For the liberation, it is that lock and key or that latch opening is in her hand. Mokshadvara Kapata Patana Kari, Divine Mother. Then I used to think in my mind, what is the greatness in that of Divine Mother? Because liberation is our birthright, freedom is our birthright. Because we are of the nature of Parabrahma Swarupa. We have the Lord within us. We are of the nature of Parabrahma Swarupa. The greatness of the Divine Mother lies in making a person more greater than the sun, thousands of sun, having the power. We are the beings, we are of the nature of such beings, the Atma Swarupa. Our nature is Atma Swarupa. We are the Parabrahma Swarupa who have the power more than millions of suns, more than million and billion and trillions of suns. More than that, we have the power. The Divine Mother has made such great, powerful Parabrahma Swarupa into this puny human being or this body-mind complex, into this puny thing, and made to feel that we are very ordinary, we cannot do anything, we are helpless, we can't do anything. So we are been made to perform things or be like fools, like idiots. We have become idiots and fools, forgetting our real nature, the infinite strength, infinite joy. So liberation and mukti is our birthright, it is in our hand. But keeping that desire, keeping that this thing, ignorance, covering everything, the world bewitching Maya has made that huge, highest Parabrahma Swarupa into this idiots and ordinary beings. Fools, we have been acting like fools, thinking that we are this body, we are this mind. But our real nature is Parabrahma Swarupa. That is real power of Divine Mother. The Parabrahma Swarupa himself, just like you see, the sun is so great, so much of power. The clouds, they don't exist even. The clouds, we would think when we were small children, something very solid is flying there above. When we go there above, we see that there is no existence of cloud at all. It's just like steam. It looks like hard, solid rocks moving there above. But it doesn't exist at all. That thing which doesn't exist, the clouds can cover that infinite strength of sun, the light of sun, for days and weeks and months together. Likewise, we are of the nature of more millions of suns, billions, trillions of suns, infinite energy, infinite joy, infinite existence. That's our nature, Atma Swarupa. And we have been made to think that we are ordinary fools and idiots and identifying ourselves with this body-mind complex and ego. We think we are helpless, we can't do anything. And we, oh, I can't, I'm helpless. We act like cowards. We act like jackals and foxes and get the desire and suffer so much. That is world bewitching Maya, the Parabrahma Swarupa himself weeping, coming to this world and weeping. That is world bewitching Maya. That is the strength of the Divine Mother. That is the real strength. What is there for her to give mukti for us? That is our real nature. We already have mukti. She only removes that Maya, that's all. That is yours. It's already yours. You are of the nature of Parabrahma Swarupa. I am Atma Swarupa, Parabrahma Swarupa. But the world bewitching Maya has covered us, made us to forget all those things and made to feel that we are ordinary human beings or ordinary animals. So one day, Sri Ramakrishna's mind, there arose in the master's mind during this period a desire to see the deluding power, this power, Maya of Divine Mother, deluding power of the Mother of the Universe. Accordingly, he saw. Now, when he had the desire, now he saw a female figure of extraordinary beauty rise from the water of the Ganga. So Ramakrishna is seeing a female beauty, extraordinary beauty, and come in a dignified gate to the Panchavati. Presently, he saw that the said figure was very presence and suckled the appearance, and taking the baby into her mouth, masticated it and swallowed it. She then entered the waters of the rivers whence she had appeared. So, Srishti, Sthiti, Pralaya, creation, sustenance, and then destruction, taking back. The world bewitching Maya, the world deluding power of Mother of the Universe, he had the desire to see. Accordingly, he got the vision, Divine Mother gave him the vision. Accordingly, he saw a female figure of extraordinary beauty rise from the waters of Ganga and come with a dignified gait to the Panchavati. Presently, he saw that the said figure was in an advanced stage of pregnancy. A few minutes later, she gave birth to a beautiful baby in his very presence and suckled the baby very affectionately. The next moment, he saw that the same figure assumed a very cruel and frightful appearance, and taking the baby into her mouth, masticated it and swallowed it. She then entered the water of the river whence she had appeared. Besides the various visions mentioned above, there was no limit. There was no limit to the number of Devi's form, gods and goddesses. He had so many different. That's why you see in the Hindu pantheon, there are 330 million gods and goddesses. Ramakrishna started having all the visions of all the gods and goddesses. So now you can see Sharda Nandaji Maharaj is telling, besides the visions, so many visions we saw all these times, like Mother, Sita, Krishna, Rama, all those visions. So many. Now you can see the world bewitching Maya's vision. Besides all these visions mentioned above, there was no limit, unlimited, infinite number. No limit to the number of Devi's form, ranging from the two-armed to the 10-armed. That is all during this period. Ashtabhuja, Dashabhuja, Dvibhuja, Chaturbhuja, from 2 arms, 4 arms, 8 arms, 10 arms, different varieties of Devis, gods and goddesses he was seeing. He had the visions. Again, some of them engaged themselves in conversing with him and gave him various instructions. All those goddesses used to come and give him vision, and they would converse with him, talk to him, conversing with him, and giving him various instructions too. Although all those forms of hers were of extraordinary beauty. Now Ramakrishna is telling all those forms of Divine Mother were of extraordinary beauty. The beauty was extraordinary. Although all those forms of her, different forms of her, were of extraordinary beauty, we were told by Sri Ramakrishna that they were not worth comparison in that respect with that of Sri Rajarajeshwari. He had the vision of Divine Mother Rajarajeshwari. Raja means king. Rajeshwari is the empress. The empress of emperors. The empress of emperors, Raja Rajeshwari. that the highest form of Divine Mother, that's called Rajarajeshwari. In some parts of India, she is called Lalita Parameshwari, Tripura Sundari. Tripura Sundari means no more beauty, higher beauty than hers. That is why Tripura Sundari, Rajarajeshwari, Lalita Parameshwari. These are all the names. When he had that vision of that Divine Mother, Rajarajeshwari, no comparison to her beauty. Although all these forms of Divine Mother were of extraordinary beauty, he saw that 2-armed, 4-armed, 8-armed, 10-armed, and so many armed goddesses. Although all those forms of hers were of extraordinary beauty, we were told by him that they were not worth comparison. They would pale into insignificance in front of the beauty in that respect with that of Sri Rajarajeshwari, otherwise also called Shodashi. Shodashi means eternally she will be of the age of 16, the beauty of 16, eternally she will be in that age, Shodashi. That's why she gets the name Shodashi. Others will be of the age of 16, they will be more beautiful at that time. So now Divine Mother is called Shodashi. Rajarajeshwari's another name is Shodashi. You can also remember that it was that Shodashi Puja or the Rajarajeshwari which Ramakrishna invoked into whom? Do you remember? Mother Sharda Devi. So into the person, making the body of Sri Sharda Devi as an image, he invoked Rajarajeshwari, he brought down Rajarajeshwari into that Shodashi Puja was done on Palaharani Kali Puja. He did that, invoked her. And now you can see who is Sharda Devi. It's Rajarajeshwari, Shodashi, Lalita Parameshwari. So, although all those forms of the Divine Mother were of extraordinary beauty, we were told by him that they were not worth comparison with that respect, that is, with the respect of beauty, with that of Sri Rajarajeshwari, otherwise called Shodashi. The master said, I saw a vision, the beauty of the person, that is Rajarajeshwari, Shodashi, which melted and spread all around, illumining the quarters. See the words used here. The beauty of Shodashi or Rajarajeshwari, beauty of the person, which melted and spread all around when he had the vision, illumining the quarters. That was the brightness and the beauty itself of Rajarajeshwari. It spread the illumination, the beauty of the person of Shodashi, which melted and spread all around, illumining all the quarters everywhere. At that time, the master had the visions of various male figures also, just like the goddesses. At that time, Sri Ramakrishna had also visions of male gods. So this was all goddesses vision. And now Sri Ramakrishna also had of the male deities, the male figures like Bhairava, and also visions of celestial beings. From the time of his tantric sadhana, there were so many extraordinary visions and experiences in the master's life, day after day, that it is beyond the power of man. It is beyond the power of man to mention all of them. It is therefore needless to spend any more time in making that attempt. So we have to keep it in our mind about that Divine Mother Rajarajeshwari, the highest beauty, the highest goddess, the form of Divine Mother, Shodashi, Lalita Parameshwari Tripura Sundari, whom Ramakrishna invoked in the person of Sri Mother Sharda Devi and brought down that highest Tripura Sundari or Shodashi to this earth and made us available to give her grace to all of us in the form of Sri Sharda Devi. Sri Ramakrishna brought down Mother Rajarajeshwari into the person of Sharda Devi and left her, that Shodashi or Tripura Sundari or Rajarajeshwari, in the form of Sharda Devi to be here in this world and bless all the devotees of Sri Ramakrishna. Sangha Janani, she is the mother of this organization. She is here, she is looking after that. Raja Rajeshwari is always there to protect the devotees, to give whatever they want, promising that, my dear child, whenever you are in difficulty, you always remember that your mother is behind your back and protecting you. So that is Mother Sharda Devi, the Raja Rajeshwari, brought down to this earth by none other than Sri Ramakrishna, invoked her. So you have so easily accessibility to Sri Raja Rajeshwari, otherwise it would have been very, very difficult for us to have that vision doing sadhana. He brought her to our level and available so easily, can approach that Raja Rajeshwari in the form of Sri Sharda Devi. So like that, Sri Ramakrishna not only had so many visions of goddesses, also he had so many visions of so many gods, celestial beings. So Shardanandaji Maharaj is telling they are infinite in number. So it is difficult for one man to understand it in his one life. 330 million gods and goddesses. Can you imagine? Can you go and check and find out all of them and find out? I think it's not possible in one life. So it is beyond the power of man to mention all of them. It is therefore needless to spend any more time on making that attempt. But Shardanandaji Maharaj is telling so. If you want to find out, you can do sadhana, you can do tapasya, you can do the mantra japa, which the Guru has given you more and more with that desire, and you can see all those gods and goddesses if you want. So if you have patience, if you have time, you can do sadhana and find out and have the vision of all those gods and goddesses and come to understand all the special manifestation of the divinity. So now we heard from the master himself that from time to time, from the time of his tantric sadhana, the orifice of his sushumna was fully opened and his nature was permanently converted into that of a boy. So his sushumna nadi was completely open. Now it is blocked to all of us. The kundalini can rise only up to from the muladhara with great difficulty, that 0.0001% of the kundalini power, it can be awakened. It will be moving from muladhara to swadhisthana, swadhisthana to all these three chakras, Manipura. So not above that. Very small portion. With that, the whole world is running now, all our activity. Adhara Shakti, the basic things, everything, eating, all this scientific development, procreations, all this happening in the world is happening only with a very small portion of the Kundalini power, awakening and moving between these three chakras, the Mula Chakra, the Muladhara, Swadhisthana and Manipura. Very small portion. The whole power which is within you, the Kundalini, arises and start flowing. Then how much of power is yours? So Ramakrishna, it is telling, Shardanandaji Maharaj is telling that the orifice of Sushumna was completely open and he could see that Kundalini rising and passing through. So now, what all other things after this tantric sadhana, Sri Ramakrishna would have the visions and so many other things. What happened during the life of the spiritual aspirant, what is happening at that time? We can study, we can discuss that in the next class, because now we are approaching very near to the time, that is 8 o'clock. So we'll stop our discussion for today and we'll continue next Thursday and Friday, if God wills. So now it's time for question and answer. If you have any doubts, we can entertain that. You can ask questions, you can ask doubts if you have any. Any doubts, any questions? I think nobody is having any questions. So can I conclude the session with the mantra? Okay. I shall tell the mantra. Om Priyatam Pundarikakshaha Sarvayajneshwaro Harihi Tasmin Tushte Jagat Tushtam Prinite Prinitam Jagat Harihi Om Tatsat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu